Shalom, everybody. Welcome back to Practical Spirituality. So I want to leave the audience a question, and maybe even, I don't know if, I can't really see the comments because I'm using the back camera for quality. But the question is, if in an ideal state, you would be, and this at least goes for Jews, in an ideal state, you would be in a white fire connection with God, like to the point of like shaking, right below shaking in front of him because you don't want to look crazy. That wouldn't be helpful at all. Then you would be not an example, and you are supposed to be a good example of someone who serves God. So
That's good.
You're like right below white fire shaking before God, and your commitment to halacha is perfect. Like, meaning you're almost to the point of being OCD about halacha, meaning you don't overlook any Jewish law. Like you just wouldn't be able to live with yourself. So like, for example, you could wash your hands in the morning. As soon as you get up, you're supposed to wash by your bed. So that's where you wash because that's what you're supposed to do. Or you're supposed to say, Modeani lefanecha melechai v'kehem shechazarta bi nishmosi v'hem rabam nesecha. You're supposed to say that first. Actually, before that, you're supposed to think, okay, there's a God. There's a God. Thought, speech, action. By the way, the garments of your soul are thought, speech, action. And every night when you go to sleep, when your soul rises up, you're actually when the soul goes up, it goes up with its garments. And so you're actually supposed to do tshuva before you go to sleep, in case it's going to go up with soiled garments. You don't want to send your soul back upstairs with soiled garments. And that's why we're always protecting the real estate of our mind. We're careful with our speech, and we are careful with our actions, thought, speech, action. So when you get up in the morning, the first thought is there's a God, like life's got purpose. Take away God, life ain't got purpose. You can make up the purpose, but I don't know how long that's going to last. Maybe if you're a low IQ person, but the second you get to a normal IQ, how creative can you be with your making up life's purpose, And is it no wonder why, the world is full of religions, because like if I put you alone on an island, you'd have a religion. If I came back 15 years later, you have all these things that you do, things you don't do, what this tree means, and your little friends, the monkeys, are like the priests or something. So we have a religious instinct inside of us that makes meaning. But the problem is that we don't. It's not enough. It's just not enough. And so we do need something external to us. And well, last I checked, it was called God. But just having God isn't enough because, okay, what do you want, God? Like, how are we supposed to know what God wants? And well, I also have a conscience, so he wants good, not bad. Well, I don't know what good is and I don't know what bad is. Well, that's going to depend on my upbringing. What was good in Nazi Germany was to identify and kill Jews. That was called good in Nazi Germany. But murder is never good. In fact, it made it to the top 10 list of commandments not to do. So murder's out. So by the way, killing is permitted, just not murder. Yeah. Getting comments? Ed?
Praise Lord, JC.
Oh yeah. We're always getting the Jesus people. That's normal, but we're not gonna discuss that.
Why not?
Discuss that now.
Sorry.
Oh, you troublemaker. Why not? You're why not? So
Called you the horizontal rabbi.
What's that?
Somebody called you the horizontal rabbi because it's this way on YouTube.
Is it right on YouTube? You check it.
Yeah, me too.
Perfect. Okay, good. Anyway.
Horizontal.
Well, my wife calls me the horizontal rabbi every morning. Get out of bed. She almost saved my life this morning. The mikvah was about to close. And she woke me up when my doctor's appointment was. What do you think I did? You think I just got up, Went to my doctor's appointment, or I got up and went to the mikveh.
Mikveh.
I got up and went to the mikveh. I figured I could either apologize to the mikveh or I could apologize to the doctor. I apologize to the doctor. Anyway, the thought, speech, action. So the first thought is there's a God, like there's a purpose for creation. Oh no, I wasn't there. Where was I? If there's a God, well, what does he want? Well, I know I have inside me an instinct for right and wrong. We're built with an instinct of right and wrong. That's inside of us. And that's probably what pushes us towards religion in the first place, because since everyone has an instinct of right and wrong. By the way, Jordan Peterson discovered the instinct of right and wrong. You know, I'm going to put on my glasses. So there's lights in here. This place needs lighting. Oh, there's light. I'm going to try to turn that thing on. It's probably on the back. Anyway, it's probably a button on the back of that whole thing. Anyway, Jordan Peterson, in his discovery of right and wrong, he wanted to know also, like, I know there's a God, I know there's an instinct for right and wrong. What's right, what's wrong? So what he did was he said, forget knowing what's right, because that would already get religious. He's not a very religious person. And so what he chose was wrong. Let's see if I can discover what wrong is. And so he went on to like study Holocaust and all the heinous crimes and high school shoot-ups. Anyway, in his process, he discovered, oh yeah, perfect. If you can hit that one too while you're at it, maybe. Since you learned how to turn on that light. Every day my production's getting better. Every day. Anyway, and the next will be the lapel mic, but I have to hit a store, and I don't know if I'm able to get there. I can maybe get there by Sunday. Oh, that it can stay vertical, or did it fall?
Yeah,
Anyway.
go for you too.
Anyway, so what he did was he went fully into evil, and then said, okay, what is good? I feel like I want to imitate Jordan Peterson. I don't know if it'll work. I've never done this before because I don't know how to sound like Kermit the Frog. But the answer is not that. Good is not that. So which became his amazing angle, which is, don't tell me it's switched angles. Anyway, so Jordan Peterson says it's not that, which became his angle on good and morality. And what is that? Is to point upwards. To point upwards. Just point away from evil. Like if something as bad as a Holocaust is the definition of evil, so then point the other direction. Point the other direction. I just want to mention, speaking of evil, was one of the greatest trials in history was called the Nuremberg trials. And that was when they tried 10 Nazis. I mean, they tried 11 Nazis, but one committed suicide, just like Haman's daughter. He was actually a cross-dresser. And just like Haman's had a daughter who committed suicide, Haman was the arch-evil enemy of the Jewish people who decreed a genocide against the Jewish people before they left the Persian Empire to build the Second Temple. And anyway, he had 10 sons and a daughter, and the daughter committed suicide, and the other 10 sons were hung. And the actual year of the Nuremberg trials is encoded in the list of names. When you're reading along, it comes to like this Excel sheet where it's like the name of one of his sons, and then the other side of the page it says end. This one, end. That one, end. This one, end. That one, end. And encoded in the names are little letters, Tav Shin Zayin, which is the actual year of the Nuremberg trials. So it's like, and Esther had said, may it be done tomorrow what was done today, and may these 10 dead sons, they were killed by the sword, may these 10 dead sons be hung on the gallows. And why do you want to hang dead people? They're already dead. And so what it meant was, 2,500 years later, I want there to be a sign for the world. And it turns out the last Nazi hung, Julius Streicher, went without dignity, had to be pushed across the floor wild-eyed and yelling Heil Hitler. And when they finally got him up to the gallows, he turned to the witnesses and he screamed the words, And now I go to God. They're not into God, these Nazis. And now I go to God. Purim Fest, 1946. He yells the word Purim Fest, and he yells the year. And the year, amazingly, is exactly what was recorded 2,500 years ago. The year was recorded, and that's how it came out. Purim Fest, 1946, and it just shocked the world. People are like, "What was that?" That this guy made a reference to the Jewish holiday Purim of when the Jews were saved from the decree of Haman 2,500 years ago. Anyway, so but back to us is that how do we get on this? We're in Persia. We're in Jordan Peterson saying evil is not that. So the Nuremberg trials that hung those 10 Nazi bastards, those Nuremberg trials what was their case? So the case that they had was they were following orders, which is the famous saying. What's the famous saying? I was just following orders. That's what people like to say, That's how employees, remove themselves from responsibility, is that, well, my manager told me that I should do this. I was just following orders. And in fact, they were pronounced guilty and hung for just following orders. And what was so incredible about the Nuremberg trials, why it was one of the most important cases in modern history, maybe in ever, was that there's something called evil. That was the power of the Nuremberg trials. There is something called evil, and that's where you draw the line, no matter what your orders were. And it's better to take a bullet than do that. And that's where Peterson came up with his famous line of, could you be a Nazi guard and be one of the people shooting people in the back of the head while holding their children and crying? Could you shoot people in the back of the head, innocent women? And, or any other heinous thing they did to them? Could you be that person? And the answer was, if the answer is no, then you would be. But if the answer is yes, then you wouldn't be. It's kind of a trick question. If you would be a Nazi guard, then if you say you could be, then you wouldn't be. But if you say you couldn't be, then you would be. What does it mean? That if you say you could be a Nazi guard, then you're honest with your dark side. You're real with the fact that you have evil also inside of you. And if the world was getting swept up in the evil, you would fall too. Because you haven't built moral muscles, the kind of muscles that would take a bullet rather than do the wrong thing. So you haven't built those moral muscles. And if you haven't built those moral muscles, then you're not there, And whereas if you say you could be that Nazi guard, and that scares the living daylights out of you, that you could be someone who would get swept up into the level of following orders to do the most evil, so then you are clearly, if you know that you could be that person, so then you can develop yourself into someone who wouldn't be that person. And obviously there's a third answer, which is probably the answer everyone in this room would say, is that no, they wouldn't do that. And why? And the reason why is because everyone in this room, I know, is working hard on themselves. Everyone in this room is working very hard on themselves. And you take a bullet, not only before you do a heinous crime, crime against humanity would take a bullet first, but probably everyone in this room would take a bullet before they would bow down to an idol even. On a trip to India that you got swept up away with. But you'd actually take a bullet before you'd bow to an idol, or you'd take a bullet before committing adultery, or you'd take a bullet before killing somebody. And in fact, Judaism requires you to take a bullet. Yes, so that's how he created his morality is so what's good? Okay, there's a God, but what's good? So if you're raised with a tradition, as religious people are, so they tell you what good is and they tell you what bad is. And most religions are fairly vague about it when compared to Judaism. They're fairly vague about it. Whereas in Judaism, like washing your left hand first is bad. Just this morning, I saw that there's this beautiful guy who comes in the mikveh every day. By the way, the mikveh is a ritual bath that we go to, at least Hasidim Many other more Kabbalistic-oriented people go into a ritual bath every morning. In northern Israel, people go into springs usually, and in southern Israel or central Israel, where I live in Jerusalem, we go into rainwater, which means you have a pool of rainwater that you collect in the winter. That becomes a permanently sealed box of rainwater, and we connect tubes to a regular freshwater pool that's changed every day with filters and everything. And that connects it to the rainwater. And once that connection's made, that becomes as the rainwater, and it actually has a powerful impact on you. And so we go in every day, which means I spend every morning naked with all of my neighbors. And I have to say, it's really awesome. And in the what's awesome about it is to there's no ego involved. Like I have some very holy neighbors, like very holy, and unfortunately, some holy people make you feel like an absolute nothing, you know. But that's how you know you're not truly holy. Maybe you're very pious, but you're not holy. Because what's a holy man? A holy man or a holy woman is someone who makes you feel holy. Why do people just crowd around holy people? Because you just feel so holy when you're with them. Like they make you Jewish by just being in their presence, which is my goal. And I hope you guys feel more Jewish when you're with me, because that is certainly my goal in my own personal holiness. Well, not really. My goal in my personal holiness is my personal holiness. However, I use it as a sign of how holy people feel around me, as whether I'm succeeding. Because a pious person can often make people feel lowly. And if you'll notice that you feel lowly around a pious person, so then you know what's missing. What's missing is the holy. It just could be they haven't focused on holiness. You know, they've just been focusing on righteousness. And righteousness, nothing to take away from that. That's good. Righteousness is great. Being pious is wonderful. But I think a greater goal would be that once you're doing the right things and you're pious, to now start stretching towards holiness. And if you think you can be holy and not righteous, if you think you can be holy and not righteous, sorry, it starts with God. Because what does righteous mean? Righteous means you're holy between you and God, meaning you're good with God. You're not doing the wrong things. So you got to start with righteous. Once you get righteous, you can talk about holy. You know, but there's maybe later we could talk about the path of holiness. Like, what does it mean to become holy? Another good thing about the mikveh is the great reducer, the great
Equalizer.
Oh my gosh. You got to be at all my classes. The mikveh is the great equalizer, because all these righteous people can't really, you don't stand up for someone who walks in the room if they're naked, or if you're naked. Meaning, when you're in the bathhouse, you don't stand up for the holy guy who walks in or the righteous guy who walks in. And it's a great equalizer. And the other amazing thing that's been totally lost on the world, except for in the inner sanctum of the Jerusalem community, which are called Yerushalmis. They've been here for 250 years. Yerushalmis are in Jerusalem for about 250 years. Meaning they missed everything. They missed the Enlightenment. They missed the Haredi reaction to the Enlightenment. So they don't know today they know what Haredim are, but they did not know what they were until after the war. 150 years after the Black Hatitude community became Black Hatitude. That was when the Yerushalmis found out there's something called Haredi. And the funny thing is those who were raised Haredi and got turned off would have done really well in the Yerushalmi community, because it's just much more organic. There's almost nothing left of it, but there's little tiny pockets here and there of these sweet, 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 sweet people who just have no idea what all the Black Hatitude's about. Anyway, but the Yerushalmis raise their children in the mikveh on Fridays. So on Fridays, you bring, I have neighbors with 10, 11, 12, 13 kids, and I have neighbors with 10 boys. And it's the cutest thing. You see these little guys lined up. You have to be potty trained, because you're not going to the mikveh if you're not potty trained. It's a public bathhouse. But the second the kid's potty trained, which could be 2.5, you just see this white bearded father. He scrubs down that guy, big scrub down.
Next.
Into the mikveh. Plop. Next kid scrubs him down. Plop. Next kid, all the way up to like he's got like 6, 7-year-old, 8-year-olds scrubbing them down, shampooing their hair. It's so cute to watch. But if you've been with them for years and years and years, you remember the ones who are now married. I know the ones that are married today with their own kids who are scrubbing down those kids. And I remember this guy getting his scrub down when, I moved here 32 years ago. He was the kid getting the scrub down. Now he's scrubbing down his kids. But what I love about it is that the boys have absolute peace with their bodies. They have absolute peace with their bodies. The original formula is much more Aboriginal, Indian style, like the jungle, where people are at peace with their bodies. The modest dress that we have is for various reasons we won't get into now, and not to mention being modest in front of people of the opposite gender, so that you're not at all drawing their attraction. You're not to draw attention to yourself in a way that's body oriented, because in the end, people will like you for your body, which is like the biggest insult in the world. If you only liked me for my body, I would probably never talk to you ever again. And you should know I have quite a physique. But if that's the way you like me, I don't know if I want to know you. And so, for that reason, I would like people, if they want to like me, it should be because it's me they like. And what is me? I have no idea what that is. That's something that's one of the great mysteries of creation, is what is the being within the human being? What is the being? And that is the real question. What is the being inside the human being? But that's definitely what you would call love. If someone loved your being, well, then you'd be loved. And if someone loves anything else but your being, then that is not love. And deep in a very unconscious way, like a subliminal unconscious way, it hurts to be liked for your looks. In a real unconscious way. And I'll tell you what that is. What it is it's a part of me that's so broken that I would take being liked for my looks as a booby prize, pun intended.
I disagree. I think it.
Wait, one sec. I wanted to hear what you're saying, but that was a pregnant pause for a second. The word booby prize is a term to use, like you lost. You lost, but it's called a booby prize. But it's the prize you get for having lost. But everyone gets something. It's like a party favor. We'll do you a favor, but deep down, if you're loved for your looks, what you're really saying deep down is that I'm so broken that I'll take this, and that's why we like compliments. That's why we like compliments. The reason we'll take compliments is we're so broken. So I'll take a compliment. And I want to bless everyone here. You don't have to take the blessing if you're going to disagree, because I want to hear what you have to say in a second. But I'm going to give everyone a blessing that you're so at one with your being, so at peace with your being, so in love with your own being, that no compliment could increase your well-being. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah, please.
It's okay. I was just saying that I disagree, because I think that if you like something about a person, it represents the internal. You might not be aware of it, and you might think you're only liking the external about the person, but it's really the internal thing it represents. So I would just look at that person and say oh, I'm so sorry you're so shallow, but cool, I know what you're really liking.
Nice. I like that. That was well said. I'm not sure you disagreed. I think it deepened what I was saying. And it is true that people who feel beautiful inside shine beauty outside, and when people shine beauty outside, it is attractive. And people get attracted to that. But with great power comes great responsibility, And all the more so you cover up. You understand? Meaning all the more so I'm going to show less. I have not a tighter shirt around my gigantic biceps. You know, I'm going to have less cleavage available for viewing.
It takes a lot of courage to do that.
Well, it's people who are at peace and whole with their being have a lot of courage. They're generally the courageous people. Why? I mean, why don't we have courage? Why are people afraid of their own shadows? Why are people afraid to speak up? Why are people afraid to say something? And the answer is that they don't want to not be liked, you know? They don't want to not be liked. But when you're absolutely at peace with your being, you like me or not, you know, I'm going to express myself because I feel what I'm saying is real, you know. Courage comes from, I mean, there's false courage where it's not coming from the being. There's false courage where you just, you know, drink a shot of vodka and go for it, you know. Liquid courage, you know, and there's many other ways to pump yourself up, you know, go to a speech class like Dale Carnegie's seminar or something and get yourself pumped up and walk on coals, you know, and get yourself pumped up and now you'll be courageous. But if you really want real courage, it's to get to your real true being, like the inner essence of your being, and that's where courage is. Now, the Nuremberg trials became the gold standard from then on of that you can't just follow orders. There's actually something called evil, which is amazing. Now, let's just translate all this to 2024, since October 7th, when the whole world saw the most evil thing happen. Now, who knows what happens in Africa even as we speak, which no one seems to give a damn about because Jews aren't involved. But take the most evil thing that's ever happened since World War II, since the horrors of the Holocaust, which most people don't even want to know about because they're so horrible. I won't even go to Holocaust museums. Like, I can't get near there. I haven't watched one video from October 7th. I just don't go near there because I got to be able to have my soul pray. And if my soul's going to pray, well, that's going to be thoughts, and thoughts have limited real estate here. And I have three things that are out. One is anything sexually explicit, anything that's foul-mouthed, or anything that's violent. So those are the big three, by the way. If you want to purify, you want to go holy, you want to get holy, you want to work on that part, just make a rule for yourself. Sexually explicit's out. Swearing, like explicit speech, bad language, foul language. And the third is violence. Don't witness any of that. Don't witness it. And you'll notice that your ability to pray goes up like big time. Like your ability to just connect with God directly, your mental real estate becomes fertile ground for God conversations, for connecting with Hashem. Now but isn't that interesting that after the Nuremberg trials where evil is just evil, by October 8th, there were already anti-Israel protests. Like, where were all those guys hiding? Like, what cave were they in? They're like, okay, you know, everyone, they're like, we can't breathe down here. And they're like, just hold your breath a little longer. October 7th happens, as if any of them knew that was going to happen. Maybe they did. No, there's no way they could have known that. That would have leaked. Because there were so many Jews in the ranks, you know, progressive liberal Jews in the ranks of the anti-Israel groups. But they're like, it was literally like October 7th pressed the go button. Press the go button, which lets you know so much about humanity and how scary we are. We're scary, you know, and we have an evil side. And even though the Nuremberg trials said there is such a thing called evil, no matter what pressure you had, there's something called evil. And Judaism says that if you had your entire family, like your wife and children, parents, siblings, and grandparents, put over the edge of a cliff on a plank, and you have to shoot somebody in cold blood. You have to murder someone in cold blood in order to save them. And if you don't murder the guy in cold blood, he steps off the plank. Meaning the side that's on the cliff. It's on a lever. If you kill him, he lands in he's in a cage, like basket thing with a door. If you kill him, he just lands there and your family walks back onto the cliff. If you don't kill him, he has to step off the plank and you lose everybody. I can't believe I set this up. I think you can't kill him. I think that's right. I know it's right for you. You know what? I'm so happy I created this because now I gotta ask. We're using my phone to record. Shame, we could ask him right now. I have no way to ask. Do I have my contacts on my Apple Watch? Let's see.
Who'd you ask?
I love asking questions.
Well, probably because you don't know for sure what's going to happen. So
You don't know for sure what's gonna happen.
that he'll step off the plank, so you can't make a choice.
No, he's been told he has to step up. Hey, look, my contacts. Yeah, how do I search for them? I have 16,000 contacts. It doesn't have a search. What is this? How am I supposed to do it? I'll try one more time. Maybe my phone has my favorites here. Favorites. Problem is it's gonna call and ruin this recording. I need their actual number. Okay, so that wasn't helpful. You always have your rabbi and your favorites. I'll try one last time. Contacts. Also no search. Done. No search. I'm not going through 16,000 contacts. I'm still in the A's. Forget it. We'll ask later. Now, unless someone else has someone that's a posek. You have a posek?
Who was Rabbi looking for?
No, it's the Diana Pinskoli. Okay.
I do.
Who do you got?
There's a
Hotline?
line you can call. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Do you want to call?
Yeah, call.
Okay.
You can put them on speaker when it comes. They speak English? Oh, perfect. That'll be good for our recording. Anyway, for those who have never watched such a thing, we have 45,000 laws in Judaism. Okay, 613 commandments. About 30,000 are the laws how to not break the thou shalt nots, and then we have about 15,000 of how to keep the thou shalt. I know that like people are into
1 is general and 4 is end of life.
general. End of life. Like an emergency line. End of life.
Get direct access.
No, people get these end of life. They'll have someone at end of life and they suddenly realize they don't know what to do. And there's laws about it. Like, for example, when they're just about to go, and this is for Gentiles as well, when someone's just about to die, you're not allowed to touch them anymore. So if you know someone's dying, like this is their last hour or minutes, prop them up in a position that they're going to be in, or lay them down or whatever. Get them ready. But then when it's coming down to like last heartbeats, it's going to be like minutes. Certainly, you don't want to get down to seconds, but when it's down to minutes, don't touch them. Why? Because the heart's now like just barely beating, but it still might have one more beat. That's life. If you touch them and it doesn't beat, you killed them. Hello? Oh. Anyway, so where were we holding? What were we talking about? What was I just on? Shalom, you speak English?
Yeah.
Great. I was wondering, you know how someone has to give their life before they commit one of the big three sins?
Yeah.
Do they have to give up everyone else's life too? Meaning, if like they had their entire family like hanging off a cliff, and if they kill the guy, they get to come back on the cliff, and if he doesn't kill the guy, or the other two sins.
You're not allowed, even the whole city, you're not allowed to.
Oh my.
It says in the Rambam, he brings down, the Rambam has things very clear about it. You should look it up. And the Maisa, the Rambam says that even if the whole city, they say, bring one person and we'll save the city. Yeah, you have to, so you can't send somebody. If they want a specific person, okay, so it could be that he's like a writer for everybody else. But if they want one person, so my chazis, why should your life be more than the other? Even though they're going to wipe out the whole city.
Uh-huh. Interesting. Okay, so I got my answer. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So I hope it's not like the Meiser.
No. I'm actually you're actually on live. I'm speaking. This is Yom Tov Glaser, and I'm speaking live to an audience as well as to the world. And we're on the subjects of good and evil and how to really be good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so be good. That's yeah, just be good.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Slap around. That's such a great hotline.
Yeah, I
Can you send me that?
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
That
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, and they have a Israeli line as well for like.
Perfect. Yeah. Anyway, so because Judaism has, that's what I was saying, because Judaism has 45,000 laws to keep, you need a hotline like that. But the other thing I was going to say is that way back when, there used to be these anti-Jewish law, like the oral tradition. There were anti-law sects, anti-oral law sects, and they just they liked the written law because you couldn't deny it. Like at that point in history, there was no denying that God gave the Torah on Sunday. If they could have denied that too, they would have been happy to. Which is something interesting for all of us to think, because a lot of people think, yeah, now here we are. How many years since Mount Sinai? 3,336 years from Mount Sinai. A lot of people think, well, yeah, of course, 1,000 years ago, maybe someone made something up. But isn't it interesting that the people who wanted to go against Judaism in those days weren't going against the Torah? It was a fact. It was a hard fact that, God gave the Torah at Mount Sinai. You can't get out of that. What you could get out of is maybe the oral law. Because if you can get out of the oral law, you're out of everything. Because, now everything's up to your own interpretations, of what it means. For example, on Shabbat, which carries a death penalty to break, Shabbat says not to do malacha. Malacha. Oh, thanks very much. What does that word mean? Well, it turns out I have a book in my house called The 39 Malachas. And it's this wide. It's 5 volumes just going through the 39 malachas. But the Torah didn't mention anything about what malacha is. Well, guess what? You want to hear something crazy? Not one of the 613 commandments, not even one, explains how to do it or avoid it. Not one single commandment in the entire Torah tells you how to do it, or if it's a thou shalt not, how to avoid it. None, zero, nothing. Which is so interesting. You realize that means that there has to be an oral law. Now we go back 2,000 years of the people who hated Judaism and wanted to get out of it. It's like, of course, what are they going to go after? They're going to go after the invisible part, the part you can't see, which is the oral law. So we don't. Who are you to say what it is? Maybe it's broken telephone. We're going to do only the written law, whatever that's supposed to be. So it says to put the tzitzis, our cosmic dental floss. It says put on the corners, but it says al kanaf. What's a kanaf? Kanaf is, it can also be the word wings, but it could also be the corner. And so I actually saw a guy at the Kotel once was, he was some wing nut. He probably took too much acid or something. He had tzitzis on it, only on he was wearing an actual garment of tzitzis. and it had 4 on the corners, and it had 2 on the shoulders. And I asked him, like, what's with these tzitzis on your shoulders? He says, oh, it was blue. It was just blue. It was a blue thread on his shoulders, because it's supposed to have a blue thread. Okay, I'm going to wrap all this up. I'm going to tie all this in. We've spoken about a million things today. And now let's see if we can just get it all put together here. So the part that was left open was that evil is very easily released on the world if you don't have yourself in check. We see that the world, notice who are, oh my gosh, such a cool idea. You know, maybe I won't wrap everything up, but what a cool idea. Listen to this. Check this out. Two of you. Check this out. Who are the Free Palestine people? They're the virtue signalers. And isn't that exactly what the intellectual dark web was saying? Was if virtue signalers, you know, all the green, you know, all it's the progressive liberals that are like always trying to say they believe in this cause and that cause and global warming and, you know, being, you know, virtue means being good. Signaling means, hey, everybody, look at how good I am, you know. You know, that's why they'll make fun of, like, you know, Mark Zuckerberg.
Someone said to speak louder.
Oh, they'll make fun of Mark Zuckerberg. You have a volume button on your phone, by the way. But I'll try to speak louder. Mark Zuckerberg has a, he's the, you know, whatever he's in charge of. Mark Zuckerberg will fly his private, he'll talk about green, you know, he talks about environment while flying his jet. His private jet to his mansion in Hawaii, and that's called virtue signaling. When you're just you're actually someone who's really not worked out within yourself. That's why Peterson's always talking about making your bed first. Like, first make your bed, then let's start talking about like the world's issues. You know, like get your room in order first. So it's virtue signaling is when you're totally dysregulated. You're like completely out of order. But you're gonna go fight for some justice of some sort or another. What do they call those guys? Some equity warriors. I forget what they're
Social
called.
justice warriors?
What?
Social justice.
Social justice. DEI. I forget. JEI. I don't know. That's how much That's how much these movements are on my radar. You know, like. Anyway, but all of that is virtue signaling and.
Anti-Semites.
And virtue. Oh, we got an anti-Semite?
He said he's on the way to Lake of Fire.
What's Lake of Fire? Oh, I am. Oh, he's probably maybe a Jesus guy.
But his name is Elijah Hanavi.
Yeah, he's on sometimes with me. Yeah. Elijah, behave yourself. He calls himself Elijah the prophet.
He just said sicko.
He said sicko. Takes one to know him.
He said okay. He said okay. LOL.
I always wonder whether to delete his posts or not because I like them. But he's out of control today. Okay, but he got the message. You be careful, Elijah. I'm gonna start deleting your posts. And I hope you enjoy my class because I notice you often watch them. Anyway, isn't it interesting that the progressive liberal virtue signalers are the ones who are the Free Palestine people, literally right after the massacre and kidnapping and continued hell that, you know, those hostages are going through. Why? Because of what we said before, is that if you see yourself as the righteous, well, then you're the most likely person who would fall for evil. Virtue isn't something that you signal outside. Virtue is something you develop within. And as you become a virtuous person, meaning a person who actually has developed what right and wrong is, and you've learned to align with it, which isn't easy, especially if you're Jewish, because we think washing the wrong hand is evil. But as you develop that, you become someone who would only have sympathy for the Jewish people after 10-7, right? After 10-7, the normal response should be sympathy. But if you had anything but sympathy and you're suddenly like, going into that blindfold of the Palestinian plight, like literally the same day that it happened, you are someone who hasn't developed your moral compass. And so isn't that interesting that it's the virtue signalers that wound up being the people who couldn't tell right from wrong when October 7th happened? It's like the most predictable thing ever. I'm surprised all the top speakers haven't spoken about this on the podcasts I listen to. Shalom, everybody. Thanks for joining. All the best. And please subscribe and, hit the bell and whatever you're supposed to do in there.
Comment.
Comments.